There's a reason Marvel eventually adjusted Black Widow's costume design.
Watch the road.
I got it.
In interviews, Scarlett Johansson has said she felt uncomfortable wearing the outfit, especially in the earlier films. She explained that she was often hypersexualized and faced harassment from fans who focused more on her appearance than her acting. This portrayal didn't come out of nowhere. When the Black Widow character was originally created, she was intentionally designed to be seductive, using her attractiveness to manipulate others. That concept, rooted in older comic book tropes, influenced how the character was initially presented on screen and contributed to her objectification. Did you notice something incredible in Avengers Endgame? When Wanda Maximoff faced Thanos, she was the only Avenger who actually scared him.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
You will.
He didn't even know who she was. Back in Infinity War, Wanda was holding back, trying to protect Vision. In Endgame, that restraint was gone. She was fueled by anger, grief, and revenge, and she didn't just fight Thanos. She dominated him. She shattered his sword. She crushed his armor. She left him completely helpless. Thanos was so desperate, he ordered his own army to fire missiles just to escape her. And that wasn't even Wanda at full power. If she had unlocked her Scarlet Witch potential, Thanos wouldn't have stood a chance. He wouldn't have just lost. He would have ceased to exist. During class, Peter Parker watches a video of himself stopping a car from hitting a bus. The teacher notices he's distracted and asks him to solve a physics problem on the board. Peter glances at the problem for maybe 2 seconds and solves it instantly. How? The problem involves a pendulum motion arc, the same motion he uses every day swinging through the city. This motion isn't just theory. He applied it perfectly in real life, even when rescuing his friends at the Washington Monument. Where was the older Captain America hiding throughout the entire MCU? The answer lies in the final moments of Endgame. When Steve Rogers volunteers to return the Infinity Stones, he already knows he's not coming back the same way. You can see it in his expression. Bucky sees it too. That's why their goodbye feels permanent. Moments later, Steve reappears not on the platform but on a bench, decades older. He chose to stay in the past and finally keep his promise to Peggy Carter. But that decision raises a massive question. How could two Steve Rogers exist in the same universe for decades without triggering a branching timeline or a Nexus event? The answer is quietly explained in Loki. When Loki encounters classic Loki in the Void, we learn how he evaded the TVA for years. He didn't change history. He didn't interfere. He isolated himself completely on a distant planet. As long as he made no meaningful impact, the timeline stayed intact. It was only when he chose to leave, when he made a decision that mattered, then the TVA showed up. Apply that logic to Steve Rogers, and everything clicks into place. Steve didn't return to the past to be a hero. He returned to live quietly. For more than 70 years, he stayed out of history's way. He watched wars, tragedies, and world-changing events unfold without lifting a shield. He saw the Avengers rise, fail, and recover, all while remaining invisible. He became a ghost in his own timeline, and that silence is what kept the universe stable. There are hints scattered throughout the MCU that support this. In The Winter Soldier, Peggy tells Steve that Captain America once saved the man she would later marry. A strange detail unless that man was Steve himself, protecting his own future without revealing who he was. In Ant-Man, a flashback shows Peggy in the 1980s wearing a wedding ring. She was married. The films never tell us to whom, but they never say it wasn't Steve. Then there's Endgame. Peggy keeps a photograph of young Steve on her desk at the SHIELD base. That's an odd thing for a married woman to display so prominently, unless the man in that photo is the same man she goes home to every night. And in Peggy's hospital room, we see pictures of her children, but not a single photo of her husband. Not because he didn't exist, but because he couldn't be acknowledged. Steve Rogers lived his entire life in the shadows, protecting the timeline by doing nothing at all. And only when his younger self left the present did he finally step forward, free to be seen. At that moment, there was only one Steve Rogers left in that universe.